What if I told you that 3 simple behaviors could hold the key to predicting your future happiness and success? In this video, I'll reveal how these actions can help you prioritize your future self and build the foundation for a more fulfilling life. Okay, so stick with me here. I'm gonna make a pretty out there claim.
What a surprise.
Now, I'm happy for you to debate me, but I'd love you to hear my thought process out first. Deal? Cool. So here's where we go. If you want to increase the likelihood that you will be more successful and happy, I just want you to start doing these 3 things. Number 1, always reverse into parking spaces. Number 2, always untie your shoelaces when you take off your shoes. And number 3, always fill up your tank when you're driving home from work.
Really? That's it?
Now, wait. Now, I know that you want to close this video as it sounds like link-baity, weird hippie shit with no substance. But I have an explanation, and I'm pretty sure that in the next few minutes, you'll see my point. It all comes down to just 2 words: delayed gratification. Abe Lincoln famously said that if he was given an hour to cut down a tree, he'd spend 45 minutes sharpening the axe.
It's true because it works.
All he's doing is work now so that a future version of himself can reap the benefits, right? When you decide to reverse into a parking space, you're making the decision to do more now so that future you has an easier time.
Okay, I'm doing it for me.
You're sharpening your axe. Now, by the way, there are other practical reasons why you should reverse into car parks, safety being one of them. Like, a parking space is a safer place than the road you're pulling into. So if you have the opportunity to move into one of those spaces backwards, it should probably be the safer one, right? You never thought of it that way, have you? Huh? You're welcome. The same consideration for future you can be seen in the person that unties the knot in their training shoes after a hard workout, even though, like, you just want to jump into the shower. And of course, at the end of the day, where you're slogging through traffic, driving home, there is nothing you want less than have to pull into a petrol station to fill up with gas. You'd rather leave it for tomorrow. But if you do, the tomorrow version of you is going to have to wake up earlier, fight through traffic, and then they have to fill up their tank when they're on a deadline. My friend Craig Rodney, he treats anything less than the halfway mark in his gas tank as if he was in reserve. All right, so if he's driving past a petrol station, he looks down, and if he's past that mark, he's past the half full mark, because Craig's a positive guy.
I see what you did there.
And if he's not in a rush, he'll go in and he'll fill up. That way ensures that future Craig never has to stress about running out of gas. That worry doesn't exist. Believe it or not, if you don't do things like that, you're being selfish. Because, you see, future you isn't you. Now, this is a crazy idea, but as humans, we don't see our current selves and our future selves as the same person. This actually isn't that crazy because, well, you aren't. You are a holy trinity of past, present, and future you. Sometimes you even fuck with future me by saying yes to event invitations far off in the future. And then when future me gets there and has to attend that party, all he's thinking is, well played, past you. Yes, son of a bitch. So, let me explain why this is so important. Study after study has shown that people that show signs of delayed gratification are on average happier and more successful. As the famous marshmallow test showed, the kids that held out longer, they, absolutely got the second marshmallow, but more importantly, they did better on their SATs a decade later. Luckily, this whole thing is hackable thanks to a consistency bias. You see, once we start behaving a certain way, we tell our brain that's just how we operate, and our brains don't like to be inconsistent.
You need the brain.
That's why these habits matter. So here's how it happens. Tomorrow on your way home, when you get to the shops, and I mean this, tomorrow, today even, right? I want you to do this. You're going to alley dot your car into that parking space. You're going to back it right in there. And then later, when you come out of the shops, you just breeze out. You're going to say, thanks, pass me. And you're going to do the same when you realize you don't have to untie your shoelace, or you don't have to stop for gas on your way to work, right? When you're rushing to that meeting. Now, each time you notice that and you realize, hey, I did that. I made that for me yesterday. Your brain is going to reward you with a little dopamine hit, and you'll smile to yourself, literally.
God, I love myself.
Now, every time that happens, your brain will start plotting and paving a neural pathway. And that's a pathway that leads to a place where you give a shit about future you. And this is where it gets interesting. Because when this happens, it will lead to you investing instead of spending, exercising instead of eating, and going for a bloody pee before you leave the house. You see, once you start future you thinking, you won't stop. And compound interest will start paying dividends sooner than you think. Some of the smartest people in the world live by this mindset. From Buffett to Bezos to Gaga to Tarantino, they all do this kind of thing, right? We know that Jeff Bezos put off the success of Amazon for years and years and years because he wanted to continually reinvest so that later he could benefit. And absolutely he has. All these people do things so that future versions of themselves get to reap benefits. And in fact, it's almost always the only way that that can work. By the way, there's a small cautionary aside. This can sometimes lead to procrastination. Like, do you remember at school when you spent an hour or 6 creating a study timetable instead of actually studying? You know who you are, right? You only need to sharpen the axe until it's sharp enough. So from this day forward, I want you to join me as a lifelong card-carrying member of the Future Me Foundation. Understand that everything that you do is in service of future version of yourself. And the amazing side effect, another byproduct of consistency, is that once you realize that you live a life of service, it won't only impact yourself, it will impact everyone around you. Because again, future you isn't you.
Blows my mind.
Delaying gratification is a selfless decision, not a selfish one. And if you want to hear more about how we can do this, check out my video on why people aren't checking off items of their bucket list. Heck, future you wants to do that stuff. Be nice to future you. That's it for this one. Lead loud. And reverse into parking spaces, for goodness sake.